Hi, so I'm Porter Singer. I have also been known as Sirgun Kaur, and that's sort of why I'm doing this video in the first place, actually, is to talk about spirituality and my own spiritual practice. I made a video a little while ago about how I was processing and dealing with the information that had been released, to my knowledge, since about last December 2019. And I guess that's 2 Decembers from now, or since now. So it doesn't feel like a very long time ago, but it has been, I guess. And certainly for those who lived, the experiences that many of us are just finding out now, it's been much longer than that. But what I want to talk about is this question that I got from that video about my own spiritual practice, because as I mentioned in the video, doing Kundalini yoga hadn't been resonating for me for a few years, even before I found out about the abuses. And not for any, I guess, we just sort of grow in and out of things. And I think that that's natural. I think that that's something to be really curious about and interested in your own life when you're doing something and you're doing it because you feel like it should be doing something, or you're doing something because it's bringing you a lot of joy. And there's a lot of difference in that. So for me, the Kundalini yoga practice was not really giving me what I needed. And that was happening, starting maybe, I guess if I'm honest with myself, maybe starting around the time that my son was born. My first son was born in 2013, because the the lifestyle around, Kundalini yoga, waking up in the wee hours of the morning, some would call middle of the night, are not super practical for a nursing, co-sleeping mother, especially with her first child, who frankly needs a lot of sleep. I'm talking about myself here, obviously. But it was like an expectation that was really damaging for me, because I was putting this on myself, right? Nobody was saying you must wake up at 3:30. It was totally on myself. I believed that this was necessary. If I didn't do it, I was going to be neurotic, or I was gonna, I don't know, my pituitary gland was gonna explode or something. I don't know what I thought, but I really held myself to this impossible standard as I see it now, crazy. I I actually think one of the reasons that I wanted to stop having children was just how difficult it was to take newborns and be pregnant and bring a toddler to summer solstice. And that was something that I also felt like I had to do as part of my spiritual practice. So I guess the first part of what I'm trying to say is that I've really moved from this sense of feeling like I have to do something in order to be the person that I want to be. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like I have to do anything in order to be, you know, myself, in order to show up confidently in this world and feel like I am contributing and that I am valuable. And I don't think you should either. I don't think anyone should feel that they need to do anything extra in order to, show up and be wonderful. That being said, there are things that bring us joy, and that's natural, right? And so, my mom loves to garden, and that brings her so much joy and life force energy and gets her moving and gets her outside. And that, as I have come to understand it, is a spiritual practice for her. Meditating is wonderful, but if you're meditating like I was for, the gains that you're supposedly going to make from them, that's you've lost the plot in my point, in my perspective now. It's like, I find it sort of funny that we would meditate for prosperity or meditate for, better relationships with your partner or whatever. Not that that's not that you can't set intentions and be mindful, but from my perspective now, that work happens moment to moment in your day-to-day life. You set intentions as you are acting in your life and as you're interacting with the people in your life, and that's where the you know the the interactions are going to change. That's where the energy exchange is going to change between you and another person, is in how you're showing up in that conversation, how you're showing up and even thinking about them. You meditate, in my mind, or do yoga or garden or go for a walk or any of these experiences that connect you to yourself, which is what yoga means. Yoga is not a series of postures. I mean, it is when we say yoga, that's what we mean. But what yoga means is that connection to who we truly are. So any action that we are taking that is feeling aligned and connected to who we truly are is a form of yoga, even though it doesn't look like the postures of yoga, which are designed, or actions designed to bring us into alignment with who we are. But as I understand it, now the actions that you take have really little to do with your connection to who you are, with your alignment. It is the intention that you set in taking those actions. It's the energy that you're putting into those actions. So, for example, I could go volunteer at a soup kitchen, and I could do this because I feel superior to everyone there, and I feel like I have my life together and nobody here knows what they're doing. That's going to be a very different energy to, I feel like, going and being part of a community that's serving food to people who are hungry. That sounds like a wonderful thing to do with my day today. So it's not, for me, it's not so much the act of meditating or the act of walking outside or those aren't really the things that are connecting me to who I am at this moment. It is the energy that I'm placing into it. And so how I get the right energy placing into this activity that I'm choosing at any given moment is, do I want to do it? And does it feel joyful? Am I doing this because this sounds like a fun, exciting, wonderful thing to do? And there's a subtlety there, because sometimes when something is for our highest and best, we don't want to do it because we fear the routine or we fear other, so there's definitely some subtlety in there. And it's a spiritual practice to figure that out for yourself. Why am I doing this? Why am I meditating? Am I meditating because I want to feel the beauty and the connectedness of my being, of my human potential? Am I here because I am feeling excited to sit with myself and figure out what that feels like today, because it's always different? Or am I doing it because I feel like if I don't, I'm not good enough? I haven't lived up to my expectations of myself. I now can't tell so-and-so that I'm a spiritual person, so I would call that kind of the wrong reason to meditate, that, the latter one. And then the former one for me would be the right reason to meditate. But of course, it would be the right reason to do anything. So if I'm feeling excited and inspired to make a sandwich, then that's going to be the best thing for me to do in that moment. So like before I made this video, I felt really inspired to sit down on my faux sheepskin here and do some vocal exercises while I stretched. And that felt really wonderful. And I came up with some really cool exercises that we're going to do on March 10th for this inner voice playtime that I've scheduled. That's this online public event, which I'm really excited about. So, I figured that all out. I wasn't planning to, and I also wasn't planning to wake up this early, which is funny because I used to wake up at 3:30, and now like 10 o'clock is, about the time that I wake up, and that's okay. So I guess I haven't totally answered the question about my own spiritual practice, but my spiritual practice is varied. So I have 2 small children. They're getting less demanding by the day in terms of, they're very independent, but in terms of, just safe things that they need me to help them with, which is, natural. They're, soon they won't quite need so much from me, and I will have more time to dedicate to whatever I care to do. But right now, that has been and will continue to be a huge part of my spiritual practice, is being with them. And that's really wonderful because children come and they don't hate life yet. So being around children and being around, intrinsically joyful beings is a wonderful spiritual practice, so long as you're able to kind of, uh, you know, shift to their wavelength as much as you can, and it's not becoming this like trying to fit them into your adult-sized box of what appropriate conduct is. Oh, I just looked at the time. That was cool, and it was 11:11. So I still continue to do yoga. I took a break for a while because I just felt like I really needed to discover what made sense for me after so much, I think, confusion for myself about what was effective, what was real, who am I, because I came out of a cult experience and I had some things to figure out. And, and I've come, and like I said in the last video about Kundalini Yoga, I've come to realize that I don't know what that means yet. Like, not enough time has passed. But slowly I'm realizing for myself, even though it wasn't for others, being part of the Kundalini Yoga community and 3HO was actually mostly positive. I didn't have any hugely negative experiences. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my voice. So yeah, I would say my spiritual practice now is that of whatever I feel like it's going to be on a daily basis. And that might change. I might get really disciplined again, and I might do something every single morning. And that might feel right, but right now it doesn't. So I'm not there. And yeah. So I also kind of wanted to address this concept that, if I don't do my spiritual, because I mean, this is like a limiting belief that I had for a long time. If I don't do my spiritual practice, and I touched on this in the beginning, then I don't like who I am. And I have felt this way before, but I would encourage you, if this is kind of your self-talk, to think about it not as, if I don't do my spiritual practice, I don't like who I am, or I'm not a good person. More to like, the purpose of my spiritual practice is to like who I am, right? It's to have an intimate relationship with who I am. So if I'm not liking who I am, my spiritual practice is not going to remedy that for me, but perhaps my spiritual practice is highlighting that for me. So if I have an event in my day that highlights that I don't like who I am, it's not the fault of a poor spiritual practice that day or the need of more the next day. It's rather a wonderful opportunity to look at that and to invite myself to be a little gentler, to accept more about myself, to love myself more. And you don't necessarily get that through moving through poses on a yoga mat or meditating. Sometimes you need to write stuff out. Sometimes you need to have a conversation with somebody. Sometimes you need to go outside and breathe some fresh oxygen. Sometimes you need to, cut out the coffee. Sometimes you need to drink more coffees. Like sometimes it's so personal and for you. And I think that that's something that we also confuse. And I definitely did that. If a spiritual practice is working for so-and-so and it's not working for me, then there must be something wrong with me. No, if a spiritual practice is working for so-and-so, that's wonderful. And I can try it. But if it's not helping me, if it's not serving me, then I don't need it. And that's valid. It can still be great for that other person. Just as the same way as so-and-so can eat XYZ, but that doesn't feel as good for me now. And it's always important to, in my mind, to reinvestigate this on a daily, if not moment to moment basis, to not have like certain things that you just do not, do. There are a few things in my life where it's quite obvious to me that I don't do well with them. And so I try to be mindful of that, because that's just how my body is. But I'm always curious about it. So, in a few years I might reinvestigate. Anyway, all right. Well, this was the video that I wanted to make about spiritual practice. If you have questions, comments, leave them below. Let me know what your spiritual practice is. Let me know if it looks, the same every day, or if you mix it up, if it's different, and what the purpose of it is for you. So I'm curious. All right. Have a great day. Oh, and if you want to join me for that March 10th live event, the playtime, you can go on my website, sirguncar.com, which is also portersinger.com now. And it's in the work with me slash, so it's music lessons. It's in that area, but it should also be on the front page. So, and you can register there. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.